What is going on, Laker fans? Welcome to pre-game show. Your courtesy of Purple&Gold stream. The Lakers game starting in an hour, 3:30 tip-off. We'll talk a little bit about the what Lakers need to do to get a win tonight, sort of like keys to the game, and who is the X factor of tonight's game. First of all, just watch some of the clip from the Lakers against the Chicago Bulls, and we'll just discuss about it. So usually the Lakers pretty slow on their start. They need to get a really good start for this game since the Houston Rockets have James Harden, John Wall, and a lot of guys that could score on the paint and score from outside. Especially Christian Wood says reported that he cannot wait to match against Anthony Davis, so he's gonna bring up his A game tonight. And Lakers just showing a lot of defensive mistake. They need to be quick on their feet. So usually they're very strong. They go on a transition game, like LeBron. Look at that, the drive in to spin move. And they need to contain James Harden in this game. Look how they did it to Zach LaVine the last game. It was pretty terrible, like how they handled. Zach LaVine scored at ease. He was scoring everywhere, like from the three, mid-range, getting to the basket. LeBron, I'm not sure if he will be suited up for tonight. I'm pretty sure he will be in the lineup. And good news for Lakers, KCP and Anthony Davis will be in the lineup. So Lakers will be back with their original lineup with Schroeder, KCP, and LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Gasol. And that is good news for the Lakers. Yeah, so the keys to tonight's game, they need to minimize their turnovers. They've been averaging turnover 15.3 this season. And they need to minimize that was a good play with Caruso and the THT. They need to secure their ball, and they need to minimize the second chance points for the other team. They allowed Bulls to score 40-plus points in the paint, and it cannot happen. So I know the Houstons are a very small ball team. They don't have a big guy. They don't have a legit center. Lakers don't have Gasol as a center. Well, technically, Montrezl Harrell is too small for playing a 5, usually 4. What's good, Jolan? Thanks for tuning in. So just talking about what the Lakers need to minimize their mistake tonight's game. Just looking at some of the highlight from the Bulls game. See, I like how Montrezl Harrell is dominating on the board. He got 14 boards against the Bulls. He scored 17 points. I'd like to see more of Schroeder and the Harrell combination, like the two-man game. Schroeder still are not reluctant to pass the ball. He's excellent in kick out. But he's not a great facilitator. He's not like a pure point guard like Rondo was. So Schroeder needs to really minimize his ball handling and try to look to create opportunity off the ball movements, and try to pass, look for the opportunity inside the paint. Yeah, we do miss the Dwight Howard. We do miss his size. It's definitely is going to be a problem in a long time. Even JaVale McGee is playing well in Cleveland. Howard is being a great cheerleader for the Sixers. I mean, I don't know if you noticed it, but every game after game, like he does the post-game workout. Like he's very dedicated. I think he's bringing a positive influence to the Sixers team and their organization. I mean, he was like that for us last year. So it's a great addition for the Sixers. I'm happy for them. Happy for Dwight Howard as he found the right team to fit with. And Sixers are playing good. They're 7-3. They have the same record as us. And they could be the dark horse of the East. I know a lot of fans are picking like Celtics or Bucks to be in the NBA final. But I think Sixers definitely have a chance. The way they're playing, I know the Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid combination still a little question mark. But as long as Simmons stay with his role, not trying to force things, he's an excellent playmaker, and he's a candidate for the first team all defense. Because I never knew that he could defend so well. He's got the size, he's got the versatility. He's a very good on-ball defender. So Sixers do have a lot of decent 3-and-D guys who can defend outside, also in the paint. It would definitely be interesting to see the Lakers match with the Sixers in the NBA final. But I can't guarantee the way Lakers are playing right now. I cannot guarantee they're going to be in the final. They need to really fix a lot of things, especially on the defensive end. Look at that play. Like, you see Schroeder made a mistake. He tried to help the Gasol, a double team. He didn't need to. He should have stayed with his man. Instead, Zach LaVine cut to the basket, and Schroeder picks up the foul. Unnecessary play there. Well, what a pass by LeBron James there. Finding the open teammates for three. This is what LeBron's good at. He's spacing the floor. He's very good with kick out. He's very good at finding three-pointer. He's got an eye on his back. It's almost like it's automatic for him to find the teammates. But it's important for other, like the shooters, to move around, constantly move around, find their spot, so LeBron could find them for open three. No, it's really up to them. I think the another keys to the game will be bench scoring. Right? We had a great bench scoring last game. Harrell and the Wes Matthews combined for 31 points. We had like 40 plus bench scoring, and we need to do that every single night, especially when we didn't have the AD in the lineup. AD is the guy who could give us 20 plus, and LeBron, AD, automatic 50 points, but we need extra 40 points from the bench. Well, I know that Schroeder can be also the guy who can give us 10 to 15 points. So Schroeder, LeBron, AD, we could combine for 60 points, and then we need like at least score 100 or 5 points, right? Like our scoring per game right now is 117, like around that. And so we need extra like 50 points from the bench, second unit. And I think Harrell, Wesley Matthews, and Kyle Kuzma can do that. Those three can combine with 50 points. I'm pretty sure that's what the Lakers looking forward to. So like Lakers have a problem defending slasher, like someone who can really drive to the basket, like Zach LaVine, and then they're gonna have a hard time defending James Harden, especially he's very sneaky with his shot, and he does a lot of initiating contact, drawing foul thing, and we're probably gonna give him at least 10 free throws tonight. I don't know if there's anyone who could stop John Wall getting to the basket. I think even a guy like Kobe Carr was driving to basket at ease and without any defensive pressure. I like how Lakers are shooting three well right now. Their 3-point shot is definitely up than last season. They're shooting like over 40%. I mean, last season they like problem shooting three. That was like 30% or lower. It's 34%. That was their average. So, what do you think? Who do you think is going to be the X factor of tonight's game? Definitely going to pick. I'll have to say KCP because since he's coming back from that injury, and he's ready to perform. I'm gonna pick KCP at least score 10 points and shoot like 50% from three. Yeah, he's a good defender, a good 3-and-D guy. So I think Wesley Matthews might lose a couple of his playing time. So yeah, so definitely look forward to how KCP will perform in the next game. That was everything. I just showed that clip from the Bulls game. There's a lot of COVID-19 protocol cases happening around the NBA, especially I don't know if you heard it earlier, but Boston and the Miami Heat game will be postponed due to Miami Heat does not have required players to proceed the game, the contact tracing. This happened between the Sixers and the New Jersey Nets game. The Sixers had to get isolated in New York with the Seth Curry being positive for COVID-19. And Joel Embiid, since he has a 3-month-old son, he had to get self-isolated with his family. So he's pretty much have not joined his family yet. He's still staying in New York and getting isolated. And a couple news around the NBA: Ben Simmons will be out of the rotation due to his knee injury, just getting treatments. Karl Anthony Towns will be out against the Spurs. And Jared Dudley, I did not mention about this earlier, he'll be out against Houston due to his sore right calf. And Kawhi Leonard just scored 10,000 points, his 10,000 career points tonight against the Chicago Bulls. I don't know how the game is turning out. When I checked it last time, it was like tie game at 85. But congratulations to Kawhi for setting that milestone. That's about it for the NBA news. Just talk more. Continue on with the Lakers. Kuzma. So Kuzma is definitely going to be the X factor. Yeah, I will definitely say Kuzma is also going to be the X factor for tonight's game, and he's going to be on the bench. I think Frank Vogel was disappointed that he did not really deliver his production numbers while he was starting for the Lakers. And so last game, even AD was out, Kuzma did not start. So they put the Markieff Morris instead of Kuzma for that. It was Wesley Matthews. They put Wesley Matthews at 2 instead of Kuzma. So he's going to be coming off the bench, and hopefully he can find his role anytime soon. He still looks he's lost. He's unsure what his role is. And we're into 10 game of the season, and I don't think Lakers have a patience to wait for him the whole year. I think if he doesn't find a role by the mid-season, I can guarantee that he will be used as a trade bait in the off-season. Well, they already signed him with rookie contract extension. It's getting paid $40 million. They'll have more value for Kuzma now. So they can exchange with some players of his value. But I don't think they'll get the same value as they lose the Kuzma. But it's definitely they will have to look for an option to trade him during the offseason if things don't work out between the team. Okay. So Kuzma, is definitely going to be the X factor, and I will say the other guy will be the Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder put up a nice performance on Friday, 17.6 assists. he shot pretty okay, like 5 for 11, 1 for 1 from 3. He was minus only one of the minus guy on the floor. Just means that he's not very efficient when he's on the floor. He's not type of guy who will make teammates better. Very offensive minded first. Pass comes the next for him. He's not a pure point guard by any means. Like if you have a Rondo on the floor, you can expect that the ball movements will be much better. But with the shooter, he's great at kick out. Like he's great at penetrating, drawing the double team and find the open teammates for 3 or even mid range, or even like someone Gasol posting up inside. But we don't really like Gasol to be that guy, right? So that's just asking too much. Not that the virus used to hold those. So what do you think the score will be? Who do you think will be the performer of the night? I believe that LeBron and AD will put up their usual number. And I think Christian Wood's definitely who blossomed against the Lakers. He will probably score 20 plus points. And James Harden will go with another 20 or 30. Then John Wall, I think we really have to watch out for John Wall. He looks like he's back to his old self. I know he got out. He just recovered from the Achilles injury, which will, only 40% in. Usually, the player that come back with Achilles, they lose the 40% of their old self. They don't perform the same ways they used to. But there was several player in the NBA history that came back and provided better number than pre-Achilles injury. Like one of them is Dominic Wilkins. And he was sensational. Like after he came back from the injury, he put up better number. He shot better on the field. And we know that Kobe Bryant his numbers drastically dropped after coming back from the Achilles. It was very sad, like to see last 3 years of Kobe's career. I just wish that he retired after the Achilles injury. He would have retired with more, better image. How would you rate their transition game so far for the Lakers? Their transition game is working, but not as good as last year. They do not have a big man that can run the floor like Howard and McGee. And who's the only guy that could actually, like, they have AD. AD is perfect in transition, but Gasol's too slow. But Montreal Harrell is definitely the one that can play a excellent transition basket. And usually, it's more effective the big guy can run the floor and create it easy. LeBron, pretty much just toss up from the half court for the alley-oop dunk, or, that happened last year with the Howard and McGee being the front court. And, doing the running game. Not being very effective this season. Their transition basket is not as good as last year. I'm pretty sure the stats will tell you that transition point is not that high. Yeah, I'll pick Lakers to win tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lose the way they're playing right now, the defense they're putting on right now. It really depends how they come out in the beginning. If they come out really strong, if they take the lead in first quarter, usually if they have a lead at the end of third quarter, they win. They had the winning record of 59 straight games after they're leading the third quarter, but they got snapped by Portland this year. They were, so obviously that winning streak is snapped, but that just tells you how strong they are, like how good they were to manage their lead last season. This season, not so much. Even they're leading the game, even they have the big lead, because they barely had a blowout game other than Mavericks game and the Minnesota game. But if they have a large lead, I feel like the tendency to give away that lead is because due to their poor defense, their defensive, assignment. Pretty much each player doesn't have a great understanding of their team defense. Still fumble, sloppy, taking care of ball. They need to take care of ball really well. Like they need to minimize their turnovers for sure. Like at least 10. They've been averaging 15 plus turnovers every game this season, which is not very ideal. But Lakers always not the team that is known to take care of ball well. Even last season, they were averaging 15 turnovers, so it's not that much of difference this season. Gasol definitely do need to be more effective on the floor. He need to minimize his foul, and he need to, I think, just stay with his role. Not try to force anything. Just get a rebound. Just work on that two-man game with LeBron when he's on top. Just pass the ball when players cut in. Do some pick and roll, pick and pop. When he's open, don't hesitate to shoot three, because I think he's a decent three-pointer. You can rely on him on three for sure. He had a career best 39% last season on three. This season looked like he's definitely lost his touch. But it's because he hasn't found his role yet for the team. And that's just how Lakers, we just have to stick with what we have right now. And hopefully Frank Vogel will adjust lineup. Like, I don't. What do you think about Dennis Schroeder starting every game? I just don't feel positive about giving him that starting role. It doesn't mean that he doesn't belong. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have a talent. Just that he's more effective coming off the bench. That was his role with the OKC for past 2 years. The only time he was starter was again when he played for the Atlanta Hawks, and then he was sharing the role with Jeff Teague. And Jeff Teague was mostly more effective as a starter. And because Jeff Teague is more pure point guard, like he's better with the passing and his playmaking. Dennis Schroeder is like a combo guard. He's not a number one. He's not like pure point guard. You can rely on him scoring the basket, but you cannot rely on him being the playmaker. So more like Allen Iverson type. AI is a much better offensive player, but I'm just saying they're very similar type of player. They look to score first, pass the second. That's how you cannot give the starting point guard that role. So I really think Dennis Schroeder should come off the bench. So the Lakers bench production, their number goes up, and bring Kuzma back to the starting lineup, because I think he seems to play well with the starting role. He doesn't hesitate. When he gets his chance, he provides. Doesn't matter if we trade him in the offseason, we still have to use him because we're paying him money. They signed an extension. So try to maybe, give Kuzma as much playing time as possible. Try to increase his production number, his point per game, everything, every statistical category, and we can use it for the trade. I think that's my opinion. Like, I know a lot of Lakers fans are against Kuzma starting since he's very reliability on defense, but his defense definitely got better than last year. Even like bubble during the bubble playoff, his defense was getting better. I think he was ready to take his or the role as a defender. He was ready to take the challenge, not just being a one-dimensional player, but being the all-round player that he always wanted to be. And that's how you can be effective on the floor. That's how you can increase your value as a player. So, I mean, we still have to use him. And whether starting or benching him, it doesn't really matter. We're still paying him the money, and if he feels like he can provide a better number as a starter, we should. I think he's been with us since he's been with us for longest, and we just gotta use him any way to be effective on the floor. Let's take looks at the other NBA, the games around the league right now. Let's see, I'm looking at some of the scores here. The New York Knicks. Well, this is early. Well, Clippers and this Bulls game's going down to the wire. It's 5-point game. Knicks and Nuggets just started. Nets and Thunder. So the Kevin Durant is playing for this game, and Kyrie Irving is out due to personal reason, and he hasn't shown up 3 straight games. It just says personal reason. What do you think about Kyrie Irving's behavior? Like, I think it's causing team a negative in terms of chemistry wise. It's causing team negative vibe. It's very hard to understand Kyrie Irving's behavior right now. Like he's not injured. I don't really know what's the reason why he's not playing with the team. Well, there's no inside source about it. Yeah, we do need to play Schroeder more, but I'm saying that we could bring it off the bench and use it more effectively. Play two-man game with the Harrell. Since Schroeder right now is starting, he's not with the Harrell too much time on the floor. They're on the floor very limited time. If they're both coming off the bench, they could play more minutes together. And we'll see how effective they can be. They could play the Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell role. Right? We could have the strongest bench in the league. Especially Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, they were very effective. They were like playing as a starter. Their numbers were off the roof. They had one of the best 1-2 punch off the bench. That's why we were hoping when we traded Schroeder and Harrell, we were hoping to use them as those kind of like role. Right now, we're not seeing much. So I think Frank Vogel will definitely have to, try to experiment that, see how this two-man game will work. We can develop him as from the bench. He doesn't have to start. It doesn't mean that he's not going to get minutes. Still going to get decent minutes, like 20 to 25 minutes, but he's not going to start. Then he could be the finishing lineup because he's the one guy that we can rely on scoring. Even Harrell also. So our finishing lineup will look like Schroeder, KCP, LeBron, AD, and like Harrell. But we can use AD as a 5 and Harrell 4. I think that's going to be very ideal finishing lineup, the clutch lineup. And maybe sometimes we can sub KCP with Kuzma or even Wesley Matthews. And we can just rotate around the lineup a lot. We still have to experiment a lot since our rotation, like the way we're playing right now, it's not very effective. Our record shows that we're not bad, 7-3, but remember, we have not played that many teams that's playoff contender. We only played like Clippers, Portland. Those games we lost both. And Dallas is not playoff contender yet without Porzingis in the lineup. And San Antonio Spurs without LaMarcus Aldridge. And we beat them both, but we lost when the Aldridge came back. So see, Spurs can still be the worthy opponents. Yeah, Kyrie is selfish, right? He's just a weird guy. He's a guy that's very hard to understand. That's why he never gel with his teammates, like the past team that he played with, formal team, like the Celtics and the Cavs. He requested a trade after he won the championship. And then when he got traded to Boston, he only played for one season. And then he requested another trade because he said that he didn't really fit with the team. I think he just had a problem with maybe it's just his personal issue. It's the kind of guy is very hard to understand, and he used to call it Earth is flat, and then those kind of like conspiracy theory. So we really need to watch out for our rotation, like how we handle our rotation, and like Frank Vogel will figure out. Like we're in the 10th game of the season. Frank Vogel earlier said, like beginning of the season, he said it will take 4 to 6 weeks to figure out our real rotation, like the real lineup. He's still experimenting, in my opinion. And he'll try to figure out the best way possible for our rotation to be effective. So I'm very surprised with how the Knicks are playing this season. And the New York Knicks, of course, have a good. They usually have a good record in the beginning, but last year it took us 25 games to get to the 5 win. This year they already have 5 wins. I'm surprised. They're playing like nobody expected them. Like I know Julius Randle will always deliver because he's a former Laker. He's a guy that we knew that he was gonna be an all-star level, a caliber player one day. They have R.J. Barrett, who's also turned into an excellent player. He's a good defender. He's got the size, and he can drive to the lane. He can shoot mid-range. Not a great three-point shooter. Still developing. They got a decent point guard like Alfred Payton. Michelle Robinson looks amazing. He's very efficient on the floor. Very good blocker, shot blocker, great presence in the paint. So they do have the balance in the lineup. Don't know about their bench players. They do have a couple decent bench players, like Kevin Knox and what do you say? So it's very surprising that Knicks had the decent record in the beginning, and very disappointed with how the Denver Nuggets are playing. A lot of criticism is going around with the Denver team this season. They have not put up a type of effort they did in the bubble. Nobody expected that Denver will struggle this early. Only the Jokic is the guy that's reliable on the floor. Like every single game, he's putting up like a historical number. He's averaging triple-double in the season, and that's never done with the center. No center in the NBA history has averaged triple-double. It's always a guard. Oscar Robertson was a guard. Russell Westbrook was guard. So it's amazing how he's doing it in an efficient way. He's the smartest center that I've ever seen, maybe in the history. Like maybe like next to Bill Russell. Bill Russell was very smart. He had very good BQ. Like he could see the floor, whole floor. He was not a passer, but he knew how to be effective on the floor. So he played his role. He contained Will Chamberlain well. Nobody could stop Will Chamberlain, but Bill Russell is the only guy that could had a great record against Will Chamberlain. Whenever they faced each other, the Boston won because Bill Russell was always a team guy. He'll do anything to make his team better. But Will Chamberlain more like stats. He care about his stats more, care about individual like accolades. So that's how they were different. What other team do you think is struggling? I would say Timberwolves struggling since Karl Anthony Towns out for most of the season. And Toronto Raptors also surprisingly struggling. They're not putting like a decent number this season. One fact is because of uh, Pascal Siakam struggling. He's not the guy that everyone thought he will be. They thought he would become a better player this season, even better than last year, because last year he was very surprisingly good. Averaged like 23.8 and was shooting career best from the field, and it was career best in all his statistics. But this season, it looks like he's not back to himself. Maybe it has to do with the COVID-19, like the bubble, because everyone's struggling right now. Like if you look at the league, how they're playing, no team is a definite favorite to win this year. Everyone looks like they're struggling at one time. Even teams like Lakers, Clippers, Denver, Milwaukee, Miami, Celtics. See, nobody expected that Sixers will have the best record in the East. But the way they're playing, like their contender, Boston's playing well, 7-3. Indiana is surprising, 6-3. I think biggest surprise will be New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers and Charlotte Hornets because they are playing like they have a 500 record. And Phoenix Suns, of course, surprising as well. As Chris Paul once again proving that any team that he go to, it can make them contender. See, this kind of player is very rare, like a LeBron James. They will make the team that they join into a contender or even playoff team at worst. Because we know that the bottom two teams like Minnesota and Memphis, of course, they struggle because they are short on their lineup. Their best players are out, and it's very expected. It's very important that you have your full lineup, full rotation, so that whole season, like you have time to play with each other, build that chemistry, build that camaraderie, all on the court, off the court, and whenever. That's why one thing that I don't think the Clippers have is their chemistry. Whenever they play well, they play well. But whenever they struggle, they face their adversity, like they giving away that large lead. It's not because they're not a good team. I think it has to do with their chemistry and their communication. Like they're not motivated each other. Like that's why I'm saying Kawhi Leonard is not a guy that is a great leader because he does not form the team. Like he does not make the team into one unit. Like LeBron does that. Like Chris Paul does that. Like you've seen that many great players in the history did that. They brought the team together whenever they're facing adversity. But Kawhi Leonard is not the guy. And I think right now Clippers don't have a type of player like that. That's why it was important for them to bring the leadership type of guy like Rondo in the offseason. They were not able to. So look how they're struggling. They're not struggling like they're in the bottom of the West, but they just look like they're just out of rotation sometimes, right? Like they gave away their 20+ lead against Golden State, against a team like Golden State without Klay Thompson, and they're the I think they have given away the most lead since last season. 15+ lead, they given away 8 times. That's just amazing, right? Uh, Talented team like Clippers cannot do that. It's very inexcusable that they do it, and it just doesn't make sense, right? They just need to find a better way to gel with each other. Every single game. Oh, so I'm just checking the final score. The Clippers beat the Bulls by 3 points. Wow, but that's a really high scoring game, 130 to 127. And now the Nets are leading the Thunder 13. Nuggets leading the Knicks 32 to 22, and Jazz just defeated the Pistons 96-86. So Utah Jazz is starting to play well. We knew that Utah will eventually pick up. Yeah, exactly. Clippers are inconsistent this year. Even their record says they're 7-4 now. Yeah, the record doesn't indicate how good they are, how bad they are. You remember that the Warriors they gave away 20+ lead, and they've done that 8 times since last year. They've done 3 times in the bubble playoff against the Nuggets. Right? They were leading 12 points, 15 points, and 19 points. 3 straight consecutive games, they gave away that lead. It's amazing. It's amazing whenever they're facing adversity, they struggle. That just tells you the color of the team. Like when the Lakers face adversity, they tend to play well with each other because they face many adversity together. Like 2020 was the worst year for the Lakers organization, right? When we start with the Kobe passing, and with the pandemic, and the racial injustice. Well, that happened to everyone. It's just it was a terrible year for Lakers, and they were motivated. I don't think they're motivated too much this season because they got nothing to fight for. Last year they had to fight for everything. They wanted to prove that they're the best team. They wanted to prove that they could win for the Black Mamba. They wanted to prove that they could play in the bubble and play as a unit to prove that we're the best franchise in the NBA history. And tying number of championship with the Boston Celtics. This year they have something to prove. Of course, I'll say number 18. That's the motivation, right? I can't think of any other motivation, but they need to see if they are a dynasty team. Like if they can win another championship and two-peat, I'll say they're close to dynasty. The three-peat is definitely no question there about being a dynasty with the three-peat. Two-peat, there will be a little question mark. If a Golden State Warriors, I would say it was a dynasty because they won 3 championships 5 years, but they never three-peated. If they three-peated without that Kevin Durant injury and Klay Thompson out for Game 6, that would have been one of the best team in the history. Like Bulls is still the best. Like they won three-peat twice. Boston Celtics 8 straight NBA championship, but nobody really count them because it's a old old NBA, like they play the old rule and everything. I'll put the Los Angeles Lakers, like Shaq Kobe Lakers, it's maybe the second or third best in the NBA franchise. And Golden State, maybe the next. And San Antonio, they won 5 championship with Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu. Manu actually wasn't in the all 5 championship. I mean, and the Parker won 4. So it's David Robinson and Tim Duncan won 2 championship together. The other 3 is one with Tony, Tim, and Manu. So I'll put them as like also the franchise, but I wouldn't put them as a dynasty because they never repeated. That's how hard it is to be known as a dynasty team. The accolades are really high. Any interesting news around the NBA? I'm just gonna, because I usually do check the news like constantly to see if there's a new. Wesley Matthews also is sitting out for tonight's game. Just updated. Wesley Matthews out with the right Achilles soreness. I hope it's not serious, because he had an Achilles injury before, and he was out for a while. And then Kobe's the guy that actually reached out to him first and gave him a lot of insights, how to handle his body, how to rehab process. So we do miss Mamba for being that smart guy, being a motivation to any other team, any other players in the league. And to mention Kobe, the 1-year anniversary of his since his passing is coming soon, and it's surreal. I just cannot believe that he's not with us. He does live inside my heart every time. It just every day is strive me to be great. Live with the Mamba mentality. I just hope that more players in the league really channel Kobe's mentality and play as hard as they can and to prove something on the floor. I know that LeBron did that last season when he was in the bubble. He was always in the Mamba mode. And you could see by his face, like you could see his expression, he was very serious until he won that championship. He hoisted up that trophy. I've never seen LeBron being that serious. So that was a great thing to watch. I just hope that there's more play like that, play with that kind of mentality, play with how Kobe approached the game every single game. He left everything on the floor until he couldn't possibly move 1 inch. It just gets so emotional whenever I talked about Kobe. It just still grieving about his loss, and probably will never get through it in my life. But the important thing is that we remember his good memories that he gave it to us, and then just prosper our life and live by how he lived his life. It looks like the game is about to tip off in 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna keep checking the NBA news and see if any other news came in. There's Bogdanovich is also out with the injury. He has a fractured right knee. Atlanta Hawks Bogdanovich suffered a burgeon fracture in his right knee with associated soft tissue inflammation and bone bruise. It sounds like it's going to be a long time healing process. It just there's a lot of injuries happened this season that I think has to do with the many teams being out for their game for a while, and they did not have a time to take care of their body well due to COVID-19, not being able to work out regularly. Many workout places are restricted, are prohibited, and injuries like this happen, right? Especially with the team that just played in the bubble and came back, had the shortest break until the season beginning of season. It's lucky that the Lakers have not lost their many players due to injury. I think it's just that they're mostly day-to-day injury. I think even Matthews, they're just just taking precaution. I don't think it's anything serious. He played the whole entire game on Friday. It didn't look like he was limping or anything, just soreness, right? So Achilles, because he had the injury before, so they're just being cautious about it. Yeah, we do miss Kobe, right? It's just that it's just a very difficult time in the league last year. With the many things happened. I forgot to mention about the recent passing of the longtime Dodger manager Tommy Lasorda. He served Los Angeles Dodgers for 71 years. He won the 2 championships with Dodgers. He was a former manager. He had a great relationship with Kobe. I saw a couple of pictures I took together during the Dodgers game. Very emotional. Like Kobe left a lot of footprints with the different organization. It just feels really emotional whenever I watch these past photo with the other great players, great manager. But prayers goes out to Tommy Lasorda and his family. So I'm also a Dodger fan, so I do not do any baseball like podcast or stream, but I mention about the baseball sometimes. They won the championship as Lakers, and they deserve to have a parade together. The Dodgers and Lakers do need a parade. Like once the COVID-19 case becomes safe, I know they're promoting a lot of stay safe. Every Lakers game they're promoting to stay safe, so then the fans could go and watch the Lakers game once things becomes safe. And I can't wait for the fans to go back to their arena and cheer for the team. It's definitely different. Whenever I'm watching the NBA game, I don't see a crowd involved, but they are playing the virtual crowd. Like they have a background with cloud sound, with the cheering. It's definitely different. It doesn't feel the same. And I do miss those times where we were free to go and watch the game. And the Lakers, there's other NBA news about the league NBA expansion team could happen as early as 2020. 2022, Adam Silver and the Seattle mayor discussed about bringing their team back, and Seattle's definitely is the first candidate in that list. And I'm surprised to hear that Vancouver and Las Vegas is in the second. What do you think about Vancouver Grizzlies Vancouver NBA bringing Vancouver back to the NBA franchise? I think it's going to be a very good choice. Since the basketball popularity in Vancouver is rising, the popularity of basketball in Canada is rising. So they have many Canadian-born NBA players right now. It's not as it used to be. Basketball is one of the popular sports in Canada other than hockey. I think that could be my personal opinion, but I'm pretty sure that is. A lot of people are into basketball, NBA in general. So if Vancouver has their franchise again, I think they'll do well. It really depends which team they will replace the Vancouver Grizzlies. Or I don't know if it's Memphis Grizzlies is gonna become a Vancouver Grizzlies again. I don't think the Memphis fans are all for that. But they can make even a new team here, like just trade away a lot of players, make a team. But it's definitely possible that Vancouver could have a team again, and that's going to be it could happen as early as 2022. So not within a year or longer. But Seattle do definitely deserve a fan because they have one of the best fandom in the league. And even look at their baseball team and their football team. They're known to have great fans. Right? So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. All right, the game's just starting in less than 5 minutes, so I'm gonna head out and I'll see you guys again the next game. That's gonna be against Houston again, but I hope that we get a win tonight. Keep cheering for the Lakers. Hopefully they'll play better than they did on Friday. All right, go Lakers.